Beach FM, locals talking to locals.
We welcome to the program outgoing Member of Parliament for Otaki, Nathan Guy. Nathan, good morning and welcome.
Oh, morning, John. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you? This outgoing bit concerns me a bit. You're still a young man, Nathan. Why on earth are you getting out of the game?
I still feel young.
Well, you don't look old. You don't look old. And, you've got a wealth of experience, and I know, having worked in the Beehive for 10 years, it's not an easy game, this politics, is it?
No, the reality is it's probably getting harder. For me, it was just a personal decision. I just decided with Erica's support that having done 15 years in the place, an opportunity to go and do something else, I'll be 50 next year.
Yeah.
And in my view, some politicians stay in the place too long. For me, I've had a wonderful opportunity and a great political career. And I'll still stay involved locally in a few things and no doubt probably pop my suit on a day or two a week and also do a bit more farming and family time.
Yeah, well, I can absolutely understand that. As I say, I was only there for 10 years and I was just a minion, serving up problems for people like you to solve, coming up with options, etc. And it is by no means easy. And I think you're right. I think that there should be almost a finite limit on how long people are in there, because particularly as a minister. I mean, ordinary people don't realise how much work ministers do. They're extraordinarily long days. You tend to drive around in flash motor cars, and it's easy to get lost from what's happening on the ground, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I guess there is a bit of that, and everyone aspires to be in cabinet. Some aspire to be Prime Minister, and that's a great aspiration to have. The reality is not many people get that opportunity to either sit in cabinet or indeed steer the ship in the top chair in the cabinet. You are also right that from time to time ministers tend to get a little bit disconnected with their electorates or in certain places with their country. The great thing when I was given the role as Minister for a variety of things, I still had very busy electorate days. I was able to get around the country and connect with a lot of people. And importantly, get back home to the farm and the kids and Erica on the weekend, and that certainly helped to keep me grounded.
And you had the great advantage of being Minister for Primary Industries, which meant part of your job was being connected to what's happening on the land.
Yes, that was an easy fit for me, and I'm very passionate about agriculture and the whole primary sector. And it was my dream job, and I loved it for 5 years when I was Minister for Primary Industries. And now farmers are facing a variety of challenges under this government, whether it's water quality, whether it's climate change. It just tends to be there's a raft of regulation and law changes coming down the pipeline very, very quickly. And farmers are saying, well, shit, this is a really busy time of the year, spring with lambing and calving and things, and they can't digest a lot of changes that are coming very quickly at them. So they feel that the sentiment is against them right now, and that the government's not helping that with a lot of new laws and policies impacting on them.
Now, the thing about New Zealand democracy is that there's an enormous amount of consultation, and I feel sorry for some of the people who are very busily involved in their real lives, who've also got to try and formulate responses and come up with arguments and go into what is relatively a foreign kind of atmosphere in the submission process, because you're going to the mountain, aren't you? And they've got to go there and they've got to do that bit of the game as well as their real job. It's not particularly easy for sectors such as farming, is it?
That's right, and my advice to anyone is if they're engaged in a policy and there's an opportunity to make a submission, they should. It's a bit like voting in the local body elections, and tomorrow we'll find out if there's a change of mayoralty or councillors sitting around the table. Everyone has a democratic right to have their say, vote or get engaged in a policy, make a submission. And my advice that I always give to people, if you're prepared to make a submission, you should be prepared to front a select committee in the government sense and let politicians see the whites of your eyes. It's far more powerful than a written submission, in my view.
Do you think those submitters need more support?
That's a very good question. I guess when I look back on my 15 years, I think life generally is a hell of a lot busier. It used to be when I started, we had opportunities to respond to political queries such as yourself. Might have a day or two. Now it's very, very quick. And if you look at the way we're all connected, it tends to be that we take work home with us.
Yes.
Because of our smartphones.
There's no escape.
Devices. My kids are running around the farm today as we speak, planting trees. We try and kick them off the devices as much as we can. I just think that there are a lot more challenges out there in society than there once was.
Yeah. I don't think life is quite as simple. You mentioned it yourself, Prime Minister. Did you ever have aspirations to be Prime Minister yourself?
No, I didn't. I worked closely with John Key.
Yes.
And I saw how hard he worked. And I knew that at times I was doing 80 hours a week and he would have been doing 100 hours. And I used to go to the gym in Parliament, but I still do. And in the morning at sort of 5:30, 5:45, I'd be in there and I'd see John Key in there. And I knew for a fact that he wouldn't have had his head on the pillow till about 1 a.m. And he had to be across all of the national issues and all of the international issues as well. And so it's a massive job.
Oh, it's absolutely massive. People just don't realise this. When I was working in Parliament, there was a bloke called Bill Birch there. You might recall that name.
I know Bill, yeah.
And he was legendary for the hours that he put in. And I well remember I was very, very busy. I was arriving at 5 o'clock in the morning at one stage and going home at 11 o'clock at night on a particularly big job. Bill Birch's light would always be on before I left, and it would still be on before I arrived, and it would still be on when I left. He just put in, enormous hours.
Yes, I think that's, he was finance minister, and at the time, you need to, when you're in that chair, sitting high up in the beehive, you need to make a lot of decisions. They're just constant. Yes. And the hours are just never ending. And I guess the biggest thing is having a bit of control on your diary, because you can just keep working and working and working, and then family suffer.
That's
I
right.
was very conscious of the fact that with 3 young kids, I wanted to make sure that I had a true work-life balance. It never really worked the way that I would have liked it to. But when you're in a privileged position, A, to be the local MP, B, to be in Cabinet, I guess you have to take those opportunities when they're available.
Well, good on you, because you kept a much better balance than some, because not all families survive politics, as we both know.
It's a hard world. It's pretty tough. Demanding.
Pretty tough. All right, then perhaps we should talk about a little bit of local politics. I can't really decide whether the announcement from NZTA about the Otaki to north of Levin Highway is good news or bad. What is your assessment?
Well, I think the first point is, finally for those residents, there's about 500 of them sitting in that corridor, which is 300 metres wide. They will get some certainty. But the problem is that's going to take a couple of years. The reality with this one is the government came in, they changed the government policy statement. They raided $5 billion from the state highway budget. They reviewed anything that we had on the books ready to go, reevaluated. So we lost 2 years of dilly-dallying around. And now they're saying, well, we'll go and do the paperwork and get a consent, but there's no funding. We'll look at it again in 11 years' time, and by the way, it's only 2 lanes. So when people read the fine print, they're quite disappointed in this government.
Right. Now, had you set aside the money when you were in power for that section of the road?
To go to certainly get on and do the designation.
Right, okay.
It's about $750 million. We would have found that. This government has increased petrol taxes, put more money into public transport, and as a result, Horowhenua residents and all of the motorists on State Highway 1 will be left for the next decade with a congested Levin town centre, bigger trucks thundering through the middle of it once the Whirikiino-Foxton Bridge opens. And once you have Transmission Gully and Pekapeka Otaki opening down your way, all that traffic's just going to snarl up in the middle of Levin. It's going to be disastrous.
Nathan Guy, thank you for your time this morning. Much appreciated.
Good on you, John.
All
Have
the
a
best.
great weekend.
And you.
106.3 Beach FM.